For some of the most captivating fantasy, many are allured by a magical premise, with harsh atmospheric worlds and mysticism, where conflicts brew, fester, and unravel, often started from a spark that fans the flame. When creating a fantasy kingdom, I find it's done best when respecting these foundations, taking great care to craft a cohesive, breathing world. If you haven't seen my previous video on resin, it's a magical resource at the core of my game's world, which grants the user power and long life at the cost of their body and mind. While this did go over some use of the magic, I would like to more formally introduce the kingdom's regions, their place in the world, and the spark that ignites your adventure. But before we get there, allow me to give a brief history of the events leading up to the current setting. In ancient times, before the nations were established, the Crescent was a lush and fertile land, largely occupied by the Nithrin from the east, who have strong connections to nature. These Nithrin hail from beyond the Sea of Trees, a primeval forest that grows more thick, tall, and dangerous the further in it goes. None have ever ventured far through this forest, as ethereal spirits swim through the trees and claim the souls of those they pass. Gwaednir, the race of men, ruled the continent across the southern seas, and small factions would adventure to the Crescent to explore and settle. The Craiddites were the most successful of these nomadic factions, cultivating the western coast, harvesting the forests and mountains to create large and powerful cities. While they prospered and established themselves, they were never able to expand much beyond the God Crystal, as a blight known as the Withering lurked outside its protective aura, as well as Nithrin who fiercely protected their forests. That is until one day, when the Emyritians arrived across the endless seas. The Emyritians are powerful warriors who grow scales and horns as they age, with the royal family having the ability to transform into dragons. When they arrived to the Crescent, they were led by Emyritian, who had a sacred relic called the God's Pole, which guided them to these lands. Emyritian took a diplomatic approach and allied with the Craiddites, introducing them to the power of resin which flourished within their domain. Harnessing resin, they expanded beyond the mountains with the Emyritians building an elaborate golden capital, where the power of the God's Pole was the strongest. Emyritian's body and mind began to fade over the millennia. While the Emyritians are naturally quite resilient to the negative effects of resin, his obsession with it and the God's Pole were taking too much of a toll on him. No longer lucid and locked ill within the Golden City, the royal family found him unfit to rule, and appointed his eldest son, Emyrrion, as the next High King. Emyrrion was much more brutal and unforgiving than Emyritian. Seeking to conquer all of the Crescent, he initiated a 1,000-year war. With his immense battle prowess, he commanded respect, and fought the giants and ancient races to near extinction. The Withering was also an increasing threat, feeding off the massive casualties of war and spiraling the kingdom into a long, dark age. It was during this time that whispers of a greater foe emerged, a being of immense power, dwelling within the Withering shadow. Emyrrion led a grand conquest against this demon, losing many to its wrath. After felling the beast, it let out a death rattle that shattered the battlefield and pulled Emyrrion down into the depths with it. Emhyr was the next in line as High King, and reigned until the current age. Coming out of the Dark Age, he created an order of Withersworn knights, who helped ally the Seven Nations and fight back the Withering. These sacred knights were blessed by angels and extensions of the High King, each a weapon of mass destruction that could single-handedly turn the tides of battle. During this time, technology thrived and the nations prospered, thrusting the kingdom into a golden age. For 100 years, the kingdom had felt a relative peace. That was until High King Emhyr was betrayed, assassinated by Tanwyn, ex-captain of the Withersworn Knights. As someone revered and loved, and even thought of as a god, Emhyr's death shattered the kingdom. With each nation prosperous and powerful from his reign, a vie for power begins, and each leader has their own plans set in motion for the Crescent, and the Withersworn Knights lost to their leader they were once sworn to. After the assassination of his father, the Scaled Prince Emrys sealed the Golden City, distrusting both the nation lords and his fellow Withersworn Knights after the captain's betrayal. He recalled most of the forces back to the capital, with the exception of an elite battalion marching to the east, as he believes Tanwyn was working for his queen mother Marilynn, who fled the city upon the king's death. This crusade is led by the divine Exarch, a pureblood Emyritian who has commanded their forces since Emrion's rule. The Exarch's battalion consists of Emyritian resin super soldiers who undergo holy pilgrimage to temper their body and minds, each ordained by the High King himself. With their beloved holy king slain, their fervor fueled by vengeance has them clashing with the cultists and others loyal to hiding the queen. The whole Valthar region is tense and destabilized, with the forces preoccupied with bandits, cultists, and minor lords taking advantage of those on the outskirts. With the capital sealed, the Withering has begun showing itself more fiercely as well, emerging from large chasms in the Vale. Much of the Emyritian architecture floats high in the sky away from the Withering's grasp, and those dwelling on the surface are now vulnerable. Queen Marilynn has always had a strong mix of hate and adoration. She is an ancient Thalaveran sea witch who communes with both resin and Withering, growing a strong cult following in the east who worship her as a deity. While the Withering was never thought to be a tameable force, it seems like she can somehow communicate with it, and some call her the mother of monsters. And if that were not contentious enough, she also seduced High King Emir and had ruled by his side for hundreds of years. Many would say that she would whisper in his ear for her own gain, while others say she helped bring the Golden Age of Peace. Her true whereabouts are now unknown, but it is believed she has returned to her people in the sea, and those on land whisper of her prophetic return. North of the forests, far beyond the cultists and dark barren in the mountains, are the Empyrean Spires. These golden towers stretch up far into the skies with the goal of reaching the heavens. High Warlord Griffith reigns over these spires, an ancient Nithrin warlock whose ambition led him to command the greatest army in the Crescent. He claimed this land through conquest, battling the giants who previously resided there. The towers were used as colossal spears against the giants, and their destructive wake can be seen across the mountainside. Griffith resides in Zenith, the largest tower of them all, craving the power of the heavens. Though he has his sights set above, so too does he below. With the sovereign High King gone, many see him as best fit to rule the kingdom in his place. West of the spires and north of Valthar are the Moribund Mountains. This desolate land is perpetually cold and dark, with colossal fortresses scaling up the cliff edge. The secluded region refused to partake in resin, causing their nation to spiral into chaos. A curse took hold of the land where souls cannot rest, undead roam the wasteland, and their people turn to beasts. While the region is generally closed off from the rest of society, some are searching to lift the curse. The nation west of Moribund and north of the God Crystal is Anam Shalim, 12 desert tribes united under one emperor. They train seers, spies, and assassins known as Duskwalkers, who can commune with the dead, with some traveling to Moribund to aid in their plight. Though they are rather isolated, their people are utilized throughout the kingdom for espionage, but always remain loyal to their emperor. Due to their fearsome and efficient reputation, no nation has dared attempt to betray them, but some believe they were involved in the High King's assassination. Their emperor possesses one of the greatest gifts in the kingdom, an angel who has taken the form of a small child. Many travel to pay their respects and receive enlightenment from its blessings, as it is the only angel known to take mortal form. Prospering from thousands of years of close loyal alliance with the Emyritians, the Craiddites are one of the wealthiest nations in the kingdom. They are mainly housed within the Orolith Expanse to the west, and operate the largest resin factory underneath the God Crystal. Within the factory, constructs and other weapons are developed, and rumors say there is a facility deep beneath the earth where they conduct secret experiments. They have their own royal family who often marries into the Emyritian one to solidify their alliance. The Craidite king and queen had recently passed, and the young princess has only just begun her rule. With such a vulnerable leader, the Craiddites fear the other nations may look to usurp the God Crystal with the recent instability in the kingdom. Even within their own borders, the desert city's vizier and magistrates have begun to doubt the princess's ability to rule. Dwarvorn dwell within the mountains surrounding the God Crystal as well. They are greedy, trickster spirits who are gifted in transmutation and have an obsession with stone, gems, and resin. Their skill at transmutation can be assumed by their large forehead crests and beards, with more dim-witted, weaker spirits having a more pudgy, bald appearance. They are usually shy and recluse, but occasionally seize the opportunity to exchange their services for gems and ore. Through their transmutation abilities, they have been crucial in the development of constructs and other technology. At the height of this technology is the massive chasm city Etythia, ruled by the Silverin witch Ceridwen. Well financed by the Emyritians and resin sourced from the Craiddites, this city is the culmination of resin advancement. Nobles and scholars flock to the city to trade and research resin technology, preferring jeweled conduits over other resin methods as it alleviates most of the physical effects on their bodies. Due to its positioning between allying regions and mountainous surroundings, it is one of the most protected regions in the kingdom. While crime thrives in the deeper layers, the upper echelons have ambitious citizens seeking knowledge and power. A large construct research facility within the city believes they are on the brink of transferring one's consciousness to a construct vessel to achieve immortality. As for the Withersworn, after High King Emir's assassination by their ex-captain Tanwyn, the remaining Withersworn knights become much more independent and self-motivated without the leader they were sworn to serve. Being such powerful forces, the nations desperately want the Withersworn on their side, and each are on a journey for one purpose or another. With you, the first new Withersworn in 300 years to appear, both the nations and the Withersworn will test your place in this world. While I'd love to dive into the regions more, as there is a ton of other major plot points, characters, and sub-areas in each, I hope this at least gives a quick overview of the kingdom. I'll probably have other videos explaining more on the history of the Withering, the Withersworn, and the Angels, but if there's a certain region or topic you would like to hear more of, I'd love to do smaller and more focused lore videos in the future. Also, I would like to give a little life update, as it has affected development a bit. In September, I was hit by a drunk driver and injured my arm pretty bad, tearing my rotator cuff and becoming a frozen shoulder. The doctor and physio said it might be years of recovery, alongside many appointments related to the accident. And while a lot of that has settled down, it has made transitioning to the new physics gameplay a bit harder, as it was already quite a challenge to begin with. I have been hard at work on it, however, with some cool results, and experimenting on some really unique mechanics that, while a lot of work to implement, will be quite a game changer if possible. Sorry for any inconvenience this may cause, and thank you for your understanding. I can't wait to show you the results when they are complete. Also, a huge thank you as well to the Patreon supporters.